Tesla has come out with a brand new Model 3. It's called the Highland, and it's gone through vast improvements. Almost every single one of your beefs is actually addressed. So if you've ever been considering buying a Tesla, there's no time like the present, because the latest revamp of the Tesla Model 3 is out now. So you said you'd never buy a Tesla. There's a whole host of reasons why you wouldn't, and clearly I'm a skeptic of my own. I've actually created videos that suggested that buying a Tesla is just the biggest mistake in the world. But there's a few reasons why you are hung up on not buying a Tesla. I personally am as well, and clearly they were big issues. Let's get into it now.
Life's too short to drive boring cars.
And on Twitter, What Car actually says Tesla Model 3 is already one of the best electric cars on sale, but hasn't stopped Tesla from refreshing the looks and trying to improve comfort. On Twitter, Tesla Europe actually says that the upgraded Model 3 launching today is built for distance, going up to 629 kilometers on a single charge with updated exterior styling optimized for maximum aerodynamics, better ride comfort, more relaxed ride, stiffer chassis, and a better suspension tuning. Just means it's an improved car. I've driven many Teslas. I've driven the 3, the Y, as well as some of the Plaid models. And while performance has always been bang on, Tesla has always sort of missed the boat, if you will. And clearly, some of the issues that a lot of people had were around the range, the styling, the technology. Well, guess what? I'm going to share some of those key elements that Tesla has addressed, because for the first time in this new Highland Tesla Model 3, released in Europe now, just officially at the turn of the monthly calendar, we're finding that there have been vast improvements to the point where this is actually a significantly new car and a new model. So first, let's start out by talking about some of the exterior changes. Looking at some drawings, if you look up there, you'll actually see the frumpy look, and I've often commented that the front end of these cars often looks like a rhinoceros with that front bulbous nose that just looked a little bit off kilter. Well, Tesla has decided to do something a lot more drastic there, and they've actually gone and restyled the front end of this car a lot more significantly to make it look a lot sportier and more in line with some of its European competitors that are now stepping into the marketplace. If you focus on the headlights, for example, you'll notice they're a lot sleeker, tighter, and actually that beautiful LED strip makes them actually resemble a Jaguar F-Type. And everybody knows the F-Types are arguably one of the prettiest cars on the planet. Also, that whole bulbous nose that you've grown to know and actually disliked quite dramatically in many cases on the old outgoing Model 3 now have been vastly improved and changed to the point where it actually looks very sharp, pointed, and quite sporty. Tesla is also introducing another ultra deep gloss. Now, if there's one thing that you can honestly say about the outgoing Teslas, are a lot of the colors are pretty bland. You walk up to them and either they're white, black, or red, or maybe blue, but they look very bland in most cases. Vanilla yogurt, however, things have changed and they're adding a new color. Absolutely beautiful. And it's called the Ultra Red. Yeah, have you ever seen some of those Mazdas that drive around with that really deep, shiny, glossy red color? Well, it looks to resemble very much like that. So they're actually bringing a lot more character and flavor even in the colors that they offer. So another item that a lot of people really had problems with was the range. Everybody knows range anxiety is a real thing, and that was clearly something that I experienced when I actually had a Tesla Model 3 on loan last year, that unless you were within a charging station every 200, 250 miles, you were likely going to be stuck and having to look for a tow. But that's not so much the case. As a matter of fact, Tesla has improved the range on a lot of these models now to the tune of 11 to 12% increase in range. It's actually quite an improvement, up to about 344 miles on the basic and as much as 420 miles on the long-range version. That should take a lot of those concerns and questions about range anxiety, because it tops you up. It gives you that extra distance. It might get you an extra 100 miles. That might be the difference between having to charge between major cities and not having to charge between major cities. Now, some of that range improvement actually comes from the coefficient of drag. Everybody knows if you put a piece of plywood in front of a car, it's all that wind and drag is going to slow it down and prevent it from getting fuel economy. Well, as a matter of fact, 5.8% increase on the coefficient of drag on this new Tesla Model 3 Highland, just because of its sleek design. As a matter of fact, it's from 0.225 down to 0.219 coefficient of drag. Tesla is also providing some new wheels that don't just give you better fuel economy, but they look much more stylish. You have an 18-inch option called the Photon wheels and a beautiful set of 19-inch Nova wheels. Now, another thing that a lot of people complained with was the bare bones feel of the interior of a Tesla. Now, everybody knows the intention was to be as minimalistic as possible. But still, when now you're competing with the likes of Porsche Taycan and Audi's coming out with products, and all these manufacturers are creating cars that are much more luxurious but still land the same end result, which is an electrified driving experience, why do you have to do without? Consumers want some of that technology, and here's how Tesla's actually improved on some of those features. This latest Tesla Model 3 actually features a rear display. Actually, yes, in fact, for those passengers, kids, friends, family, they get an 8-inch display at the back that they can control heating, climate controls, as well as entertainment. The rear trunk is also up from 561 cubic liters up to 594, so there's a little extra space in there for the practical side. There's now also a customizable interior lighting scheme, a lot more ambiance, if you will, and clearly when you're competing with the likes of Mercedes-Benz and Audi, you know they're bringing the game, so Tesla has to step it up. The latest Tesla Model 3 also provides additional quiet driving experience. A lot of that comes in part due to the improved aerodynamics, as well as improved fit and finish quality, and the trim, as well as some of the ceiling surfaces make sure that the interior noise levels are reduced. This latest version also gets an improved Wi-Fi as well as a Bluetooth configuration, just makes it all easier to interface. The sound system as well has been beefed up from 14 speakers up to 17 with more wattage output. Makes it a much more luxurious feel. You get the sound more surrounding you rather than the previous generations. Another thing I've heard were people complaining about the rear seat space and the quality of the seating in these older versions, the outgoing versions. The rear seats felt like you're driving around in a lumber wagon. It was like driving or riding in a public transportation like a modern city day bus. But clearly they've upped the game and they've created cushier rear seats so that you can actually sit back there and feel more comfortable for longer trips. Because that's going to be important. You do have a longer range. You're going to be sitting on your schwanz for a lot longer. They've now added additional luxury. Now, I do know when I actually had the Tesla Model 3 last year, I did notice I always felt like I was sweating in there. The seats, they didn't breathe because it was sort of a synthetic product or a natural product, if you will, but they didn't have that ventilated feel, and my back was always sweating after getting out for a ride in a Tesla. But such is not the case. In the latest version, now they have a ventilated seat system on the front that you can also control and prematurely adjust the settings even before you get into the car via the application on your phone. It's a wonderful new addition for the level of comfort that you expect when you're spending that kind of money. Now there's some other technology. Some may think it's an improvement, others may not like it so much, but one thing you're going to have to sure get used to on this new Highland version of the Model 3 is they've done away with some controls. For example, your gear selection. No longer on the 3 is it external. It's literally all tied on with the screen, just like you would expect from the Model S and the Model X. How you give it the swipe forward, swipe back. On top of that, on the outgoing Model 3, you'd have this stock. You have a stock mounted signal switch. That's gone. So instead, on the left-hand side of the steering wheel, now you'll have essentially the equivalent of signal stock controller. So it's a little bit reduced. It's cleaner. But some people I know are going to hate the fact that they're reducing the amount of controls. More people prefer buttons and knobs that are dedicated. In this case, they're cleaning that up. So far regarding pricing, what can you anticipate? This latest Model 3 Highland, so far there's no performance version. You can get the standard as well as the long range. The standard range is up slightly in terms of cost, and the long range you can anticipate a bump of just under $1,000, probably closer to the tune of $941 US, more than the outgoing Model 3. So this wasn't just a mere little refresh. Tesla was very committed, and they said that they've changed out over 50% of the parts over the outgoing model. There's also the stinky air conditioning problem that he experienced. Time will tell once we get behind the wheel of this latest Model 3, whether that sort has been sorted out. We'll also anticipate improvements overall on quality control, fit and finish, gap improvement, paint improvements. I would expect that everything's going to be stepped up to the next level. So the real question is this Tesla Model 3 Highland the electric car that's literally going to take your money and get you into that next level? Well, time will tell. But I will say you've got improved range, so a reduced range anxiety. You will have better technology, much nicer styling, quieter ride, and more luxurious feel from top to bottom, and a more expansive design theme. So in other words, more room in the vehicle. The quality is improved, the performance is up, and the fact that the cost of this vehicle has only been marginally increased means that this clearly is a winner. This is a huge improvement, lots of changes, and it really begs the question, am I going to buy one of these? Well, time will tell. I want to wait and see when the performance model comes out with these improvements, and then I'll let you know. Please do drop a line down there below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Is this the Tesla for you now? Are you going to buy one of these? Or are you going to skip it because for the same reasons and the same song and dance? But clearly there's some massive improvements and some things that literally might be the tipping point for many buyers who are just waiting for those small details just to finally commit. And with all of that said, be sure to check out that video. If you're still not sure, that's the popular video I made where it's not quite ready time to buy a new electric car. Hope to see each and every one of you on the next one. We'll see you all real soon. Bye-bye.